The first time I saw her, she was kneeling in a glass cage, bleeding light from the cracks in her skin, while the crowd argued about whether she was even worth keeping alive. That should have been my warning. The orbital station Kepri. 9 never slept. It hummed with the sound of alien lungs breathing recycled air, with languages layered over one another like static, with the low thrum of engines keeping us tethered between stars. Humans were guests here, barely tolerated, rarely trusted. We were useful. Nothing more. I was there as a xenopsych liaison, a fancy title that meant I helped decide which species could bond with which. In the coalition, bonding wasn't romance. It was survival. Shared neural links, emotional synchronization, paired decision-making. Entire civilizations were built on it, and she was the only one no one wanted. Her designation was Salith-Var, a Karuan empath. Once, her species had been revered, living conduits of emotional resonance capable of stabilizing entire planetary networks. Now they were nearly extinct. Something had gone wrong. Something violent. I stood with my hands clasped behind my back as a Threxian adjudicator sneered at the display. Unstable. It clicked. Her neural lattice is scarred. Bond failure probability exceeds 90%. Around us, other delegates nodded or looked away. Some looked afraid. Salith didn't raise her head. She already knew. That should have been the end of it. That was how these things usually went. But then she looked up. Her eyes were fractured prisms, each reflecting a different emotion, fear, exhaustion, something like hope strangled before it could breathe. The scars across her skin glowed, faintly, not wounds of flesh but of light itself, jagged remnants of a broken resonance field. And when our eyes met, something inside my chest tightened. I didn't know it yet, but that moment was the first crack in everything I believed. Because what I felt wasn't revulsion. It was recognition. The Karuan had been devastated during the resonance collapse, a catastrophe no one fully understood. Official reports claimed internal failure. Whispers said experimentation, forbidden amplification, pushing empathic bonding too far. Salith had been at the center of it. She killed her bonded circle, someone muttered nearby. She survived when the others didn't, said another. That alone makes her dangerous. I watched her fingers curl into the floor, light flickering erratically along her scars. She wasn't dangerous. She was terrified, but that was only the beginning. Later that cycle, I reviewed her file. Medical scans, neural maps, incident logs sealed with coalition clearance codes. The data painted her as a walking catastrophe, empathic feedback loops, emotional overloads, spontaneous resonance spikes. Yet buried deep in the records was something strange. Her core empathic structure wasn't broken. It was over-constrained, like a voice forced into silence until it cracked. I requested a private evaluation. The station AI hesitated. Human liaison Carter, bonding proximity is not advised. I'm not bonding, I said. I'm listening. The chamber lights dimmed as the cage field lowered just enough for sound to pass. Salith flinched, pressing herself smaller, scars dimming as if bracing for pain. I won't touch you, I said softly. I promise. Her eyes lifted again, cautious, curious. You are human, she said, voice layered, harmonic. Why are you here? No accusation. No fear. Just confusion. Because no one else would come, I answered. The silence stretched. Then, slowly, she nodded. They see the scars, she said. They do not see me. Something twisted sharply in my chest. I asked about the collapse, about the circle she'd lost, about the moment everything went wrong. Her light flickered violently. We were told it would heal us, she said. Make us stronger. The humans had survived isolation, emotion without resonance. We wanted that resilience. My stomach dropped. Humans. They amplified our bond network, Salith continued. Forced coherence beyond safe thresholds. When one felt pain, all felt it. She looked down at her glowing scars. When one died, all screamed. I swallowed hard. None of us were prepared for that truth. The coalition had used human emotional isolation as a model and broken her people in the process. When I left the chamber, my hands were shaking. And that was when the order came down. Salith-Var was scheduled for decommission. They called it containment. They always did. I had 12 hours to decide whether to walk away, or do something unforgivable. Around 40% into my shift, alarms rippled through Capri 9. Not loud, not urgent, administrative, the kind that meant decisions were already being made without you. I stood outside her chamber as armed enforcers approached. "Step aside, human," one of them said. I didn't move. "She's not unstable," I said. "She's traumatized. There's a difference." The Threxian commander tilted its head. "Your species lacks empathic perception. You are unqualified." I laughed, short and bitter. "That's exactly why I am qualified." They raised their weapons. Saeletha's light flared behind me, panicked, uncontrolled. And then, without planning it, without permission, I reached back. I touched her hand. The world shattered. Emotion slammed into me like a supernova. Grief, so deep it felt ancient. Guilt layered over hope, over terror, over longing. Not directed at me, shared with me. Our minds brushed. Not a bond. A bridge. The alarm screamed for real this time. I saw her memories, her bonded sisters laughing in harmonic light, the experiment chamber, the moment the resonance overloaded. I felt her survivor's guilt like a blade. And she felt me. My loneliness. My years on alien stations. My species always present, never belonging. Her scars blazed, then softened. The feedback loop stabilized. The enforcer staggered back as a resonance wave rippled outward, not destructive, but calm. Impossible. The AI's voice shook. Neural synchronization successful. I was gasping, tears streaming down my face. Saeleth stood, light steady for the first time. "You see me," she whispered into my mind. That was the turning point, because the coalition couldn't erase what they just witnessed. They tried to spin it. Anomaly, human interference, fluke compatibility. But the data didn't lie. A human, emotionally unlinked, had stabilized a shattered empath without bonding. Not by control, by presence. In the days that followed, they tested us, monitored us, tried to replicate the effect. It didn't work, because it wasn't the touch. It was the choice. Saeleth told her story publicly, not as a weapon, but as truth. The coalition squirmed. Old allies went silent. New questions spread like wildfire. What if the Karuan hadn't failed? What if they'd been sacrificed? The final hearing was held under the station's artificial sunrise. Saeleth stood beside me, scars visible unhidden. "No one wanted to bond with me," she said, "because they feared what I reflect. Pain, loss, responsibility." She looked at me then. This human did not try to fix me. He did not fear my scars. He stayed. The chamber was silent. The verdict came slowly. Saeleth was granted asylum. So was I. We left Capri, 9 on a small transport, stars stretching ahead of us. No bond. No chains. Just two beings choosing to walk the same path. As the station faded into the distance, Saeletha's light shimmered softly. "For the first time," she said, "I am not alone." Neither was I. And somewhere between the stars, I realized the scars they feared weren't signs of destruction. They were proof she had survived. And that, in the end, was what changed the galaxy.